Good day, everybody, and welcome to this presentation. Today, we're going to talk about non-compliance notification. And some of you may think, but we've spoken about this a million times. However, we still find that a lot of the guys are battling with these things. So this is basically a recap of what we have done or what we've spoken about in the past. So let's get cracking on that one. So you're going to look at legislation, the SANS codes applicable, which non-compliances can be or should be reported, the purpose of that, and then how to do a site assessment and what the benefits of all of this is to everybody in the circle. So let's have a look at the legislation. So I think, starting at the top, Water Services Act of 1997, Clause 14 says that every consumer installation must comply with SANS 10252, which is water supply and drainage for buildings, as well as 10254. So that's cast in stone, so we all know this. And in Clause 16 of the same Act, it says the reporting of non-compliance. A water services institution, which is normally the municipality or the local authority, must have a consumer service to which non-compliances with the regulations can be reported. We all know that the municipalities, although they've got the authority, do not have a function like that. And that's why some of these things was put into the plumbing regulations for us to inform the client, to tell them what is going on. So we are basically fulfilling partially the role of the municipalities. Having said that, let's have a look at the standards which apply and what are these standards saying. So if we look at the SANS code, SANS 10254 says the water heater and its ancillary components shall be maintained, replaced, and repaired to comply with the standard. And any non-compliance shall be reported to the owner and user in writing by the person who carries out the maintenance. So that's 10254, which is the geyser installation. Basically the same in terms of the solar 10106. Again, it says non-compliances to the standard, the water heater shall be reported by the person, and exactly the same with the heat pump installation, where it also says non-compliances shall be reported. So there is a specific instruction in terms of this towards the plumber. So we have got the responsibility in terms of the legislation and the SANS codes to inform the client in writing. And I think that is also another important part to this, to not only tell the person, but to do it in writing so that we've got proof that we have notified them. So which non-compliances are we talking about? We're not talking about, something that you do wrong. That's the one thing. And in that vein, only pre-existing non-compliances may be reported. No non-compliance notification on new builds or alterations or additions. So when you do a new installation, you cannot create a non-compliance and then issue a non-compliance. Every new installation, or if there's an alteration or an addition, needs to be compliant to the standards. Obligations and responsibility regarding this. The owner is responsible for his installation. So as you see on the picture, the owner, all installations to be installed and maintained according to legislation, bylaws, and regulations. On the part of the plumber or the installer, the responsibility is to inform the owner of pre-existing non-compliances. So there is no obligation in terms of any legislation or standard towards the plumber to fix pre-existing non-compliances. So there's nothing that says the plumber needs to fix the non-compliances at his own cost. That responsibility is the owner's responsibility, and that is the reason why we need to issue the non-compliance notice, to give him the opportunity to make a decision whether he wants to fix it or not. And if he then does not fix it, the responsibility stays then with the owner. So what's the purpose of this? The purpose of this is to protect the consumer from potential dangers or underperformance that may result from non-compliant installations. It is also there to indemnify the plumber or the installer against any future claims caused by the failures of pre-existing non-compliance items. Things like injuries, damage to property, warranties that are voided, insurance claims that are not being honored. So those are the things that you stand to be held accountable for if you did not issue the non-compliance notice. So let's have a look at site assessment. And one of the things that we have, I think, a big challenge with is time is always an issue. And you inform your installer, or you give them a list of installations that needs to be done for the day, or repairs or maintenance or whatever. And they get into the van and they're screaming to the site, and they try and do it as quickly as possible without looking at all of these things happening around them. So what is important is that the installer, before they touch the installation, do a proper site assessment of what is in front of them. Specifically with geysers, do not touch anything unless you've done a site assessment to ascertain what are the pre-existing non-compliances. Take photographs, and then you can now substantiate the non-compliances that you have seen. But it doesn't stop with geysers only. Also, have a look at the solar geyser installation, heat pump installation if there's any of those, hot and cold water supply, sanitary ware, above ground drainage, below ground drainage, rainwater disposal, stormwater. All of these are issues, or I can just about guarantee you that somewhere in this installation or on that property, you will find non-compliances in most of these types of installations. And although this standard does not compel you to issue a non-compliance notice for the other issues like sanitary ware and drainage and all of those things, it would make sense to inform the client. And you will see later why I'm saying that. So please do an installation, do an assessment, have a look at the installation before you start working, and also take photographs. I mean, if we look at these photographs here, there's a couple of things here. On the top left, the discharge pipe from the TP valve, as well as the expansion, was piped into a shower trap, which is obviously not compliant. That is not going to work. Here we've got a galvanized holder bat holding copper pipe. We know what's going to happen with that copper pipe. Over here, there's a number of things. Some of them just includes 90-degree elbows on the discharge pipe. This is supposedly a gully that somebody has created on his own, which is not the right thing to do. And also it's level with the surrounding paving, so you can think what's going to happen there. In this instance, TP discharge going straight into the gully. Rainwater going into the gully. Polycop pipe. So in just this little photo here, there's 3-4 non-compliances that you could have already mentioned, and if you quoted and the client accepted, you could have made money out of that. Water meter installation, same thing. There's quite a number of non-compliances there. And there's one of our big favorites, the vent pipe, which is shortened, which is not going through the roof as per the standard. And these things we see all over. So just looking at this, I'm convinced that most plumbers would be able to make quite a decent living if they just are aware and look at the non-compliances and inform the client. So once again, what to look for? Look for any non-compliances. Take photographs of the installations. Notify the owner or the occupant, and then issue a non-compliance notice in writing. And after that only, you start doing the repair or the maintenance or the replacement or whatever need to be done. Again, take photographs after your installation. Now you can compare and you can show what has happened, what it looked like before, and what does it look like now, and then you can issue your COC. What are the benefits? The benefits is to, number one, indemnify yourself, the plumber or the installer, against any liabilities or claims caused by failures of pre-existing non-compliance items. We all know, and we've seen this, and I'm convinced that all of you has heard this term of since you guys have been here. You know, you've worked on the geyser, and now all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, the garden tap doesn't work, and now you are being blamed because you worked on something to do that repair. And we all know you obviously did not touch that. But if you noted all the non-compliances and informed the person, you could have then gone back to say, but yes, the non-compliance note. There are the pictures. So I'm not responsible for that. There's an opportunity to upsell, in other words, to make money out of this. And there's quite a number of guys that's doing quite well by just driving around looking for non-compliances, informing the consumer, and then quoting and doing the job, rectifying it. There's a big opportunity here, sorry, to upsell by informing the consumer of the risks and or the benefits of correcting the installation. It will obviously increase your profitability, and it will improve your business's reputation out there. You know, you want to be the plumbing company that if somebody talks about plumbing, your name comes up or your business's names come up. These guys know what they are doing. They doing the right thing. They helped me to rectify the problems that I had. So I think these are the things that we need to look at. And yes, we understand that, you know, taking that 5 or that 10 minutes to have a look at these things may be a bit time consuming. However, in the long run, it will definitely be to your benefit. You will not be held responsible, and there's an opportunity to make money. So all in all, I think a good idea to do this. That's basically the end of this presentation. If you do have any questions, please email your questions to elearning@iopsa.org, and we will answer the questions as they come through. We thank you very much for your attendance, and we hope that you have a fantastic day. Cheers. Goodbye.